Okay, it is finally time for me to talk about my December book of the month, which is The Tiger's Daughter by Arsenault Rivera. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is going to be a dedicated book review for The Tiger's Daughter by Arsenault Rivera. I'm a little bit late, but this was my book of the month for December of 2025. Arsenault Rivera in this book presents a grand story of love and friendship spanning throughout, I would say, an age for the two young women that we are talking about on the cover here. We're going to be looking at a tale full of danger, drama, and devastating longing in this review. But I don't want to hold it up the whole time. So this is what the cover looks like. It is absolutely gorgeous. This is one of those books where my rule of three, right? So if I go into a bookstore and I pick it up 3 times, not necessarily all on that one trip, I will buy the book because I'm obviously drawn to it for some particular reason. And this was one of those cases where on 2 separate occasions I went into a bookstore and I picked it up, I think twice in both of those ventures out. So you know what? Something's calling to me about it, so I'm about to pick it up, and I'm glad I did. Now, I had heard relatively mixed things before going into The Tiger's Daughter, yet I was still drawn to it for some particular reason. And what I found inside was a story of 2 destined warriors from opposite sides of life working together for the good of their people, and I love that. I ate it up. To set this up a little bit, we need to go way back in time. So many years ago, the Hokaran Empire, where one of our main characters is from, Oshizuka, conquered the lands around them using their incredible imperial reach. They used their might to keep the demons that were threatening the world at bay. But generations later, their power has faltered, and the beasts are starting to come through, which means that they need powerful demon warriors to be able to stop them and keep the population safe. It is the destiny of our protagonist, which is Shifa Lee of the Koran tribe, and also Oshizuka of the Hokaran warriors of the Hokaran Empire, to follow in the footsteps of their mothers, only the Empire has other ideas. The Tiger's Daughter opens with Oshizuka, who is now a young empress. She is sitting, plucking away on a traditional stringed instrument in the palace gardens. It's a really beautiful scene. It sticks in my mind quite a bit because it is very melancholy at the same time. It is clear that this young woman now holds an incredible responsibility as well as a great sadness. It's not anything that she's doing or saying, it's just the setup and the atmosphere of the scene is quite sad. Immediately, I got the sense that this was not where she belonged, that she sought other things for her life, and then she is handed a letter from a courier. In this letter is a long document, which is sent to her by an old friend, I can't pronounce the first name, Shifa Lee, which is how she's referred to throughout the book. This is a woman that she had been destined to many, many years ago. Oshizuka goes to her private chambers and she opens that letter. Then the reader is treated to a story of how these 2 women, from their lives as young girls, defied all odds and slayed demons into their early adult years, where darkness has threatened to pull them apart. We are invited to their story, told in retrospect, of love, loss, and determination to fight for one another in the most dire of circumstances. Now, I do want to go into this to say that this is not romantasy. This is fantasy with some romance in it, and I lapped it up, which I'm now realizing I do really enjoy, is fantasy with a little bit of romance thrown in there. A few things that I liked about this is the first and foremost is going to be the uniqueness of the storytelling style. I got to experience this book through the eyes of the past, which is a storytelling device I love personally, while also getting the feel of what Oshizuka is feeling in real time. She is reacting to this retelling of her past as we experience it with her. The chapters were broken up in a way which allowed the stories of past and present to flow simultaneously, almost creating a lyrical and emotional reading journey. Now, like I said, this is one of my favorite storytelling styles, so it is going to play a part into why I liked it so much. But I also just enjoyed that we were learning about someone's life after it had been lived, as they are able to reflect on their past mistakes, their teachings, and their joys along the way. And I don't know, like I said, I loved it. But there was something about the way that this also tied into that melancholy atmosphere, that melancholy feeling of the Empress's current life, which built up the something is missing here, and that need to always find out what that thing was. But every time we sort of got a glimpse, we would go back into that letter from the past. The way this story is structured is really interesting in that the chapters, even though they are concurrent and you go 1, 2, 3, they are broken up by interludes where it's either the letter being read, or I think it is the letter being read, that aren't technically chapters, but Oshizuka's life is done in chapters. And I thought that was interesting, but I can see why that might lose some people. Now, I also love the characters, not only the two main characters that we do follow, although they are fantastic. I will say that both of these women held their own, not to mention their mothers, who are just badass and as intriguing to follow. It starts with a prophecy for the two young girls. Both of these two girls at a young age are seen with 2 pine needles falling on their forehead, which indicates that they're going to be a lifelong partnership. This is just friendship because it is not super queer friendly in the world that we are from, but they may or may not have other ideas on that aspect. It does show that they will be inseparable for their entire lives and they could not be forced apart. The author has never shied away from the types of women that they were, which I think is a testament to the writing skill. Because although they have had similar teachings from different parts of life, they very much remained individual characters. I did not feel them bleed into one another, regardless of their shared past. I didn't feel like either one became disingenuous to the people that we got to know them to be as the story went on, to the point where Oshizuka remains quite selfish throughout the entire story. She comes from privilege, and on multiple occasions she can be seen struggling to focus on more than just her own needs and her own storyline. Trying to bring in other people, it doesn't really cross her mind because it's never had to. And in Shifali's case, we see her remain quite open to the world around her, to people, to new experiences. She's got a very tribe-like mentality where it is for the collective rather than the individual, which culturally, being an Asian-inspired fantasy, is something that I really enjoy as well, is that discussion around the collective rather than the individual. And the individualistic lifestyle is very Western. It's a Western lifestyle, whereas the collective, I found, at least when I was in China, is more of the thought process there. So I thought that that was an interesting parallel to have between these two women. The author was able to then, because of that, because they are so individual and clear in their sort of convictions, able to have them challenge each other in respectful ways, all while building up this incredible bond that they share. They don't try to change one another, but they do try to challenge the other's thought processes in a respectful way. And I feel like that's just healthy in relationships. Now, the last thing that I will praise in this particular review is going to be the family dynamics that we had. So I mentioned characters before. The two women are great, we follow them for the most part, but there is a wider family dynamic there, also very culturally relevant. So they were honourable and they were messy. It was drama-filled, it was selfish, and it was real. So I really enjoyed that the author was able to take care in creating authentic family interactions. So from the power dynamics of Oshizuka's storyline with her uncle, who is currently like seeking power, he wants the empire for himself, he leads with an iron fist, and then we have on the polar opposite of that, Shifali's brother, who is much softer, much more accepting, yet still selfish for his own desires and needs. They all felt real to me, and I think in a book like this, where you do have two characters which take the focus, sometimes your side characters can get a little bit lost in the source. That wasn't the case with this book. I really thought that they held their own. I understood where the motivations were for the people who were around them, even though it was very much centered on Shifali and Oshizuka. So I had a great time with this one. I'll hold it up again now. There's not much talking left to do. And while I understand this particular storytelling style may not be for everyone, I do hope that more people pick up this fantastic entry into character-driven fantasy. I'm not normally super character-driven myself, but I did fall into the story of these two women. And If you're missing that void that K-pop demon hunters left in all of our lives, this may be up your alley because we have some Asian-inspired demon hunting happening here, and I had a great time with it. That was my quick review of The Tiger's Daughter by Arsenault Rivera. What do you think of this one? Have you read it? What were your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like the content, give one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.